trades impact in the Gambia. Remember, we just said the theme of this event is she trades and women entrepreneurs in the new normal. So we're going to look at that in this session. And the moderator is going to be, she's already here, so very ready to start this. Now, she is Miss Fatou project coordinator and senior technical advisor at the International Trade Center. A round of applause for her, please. Yes, you can stand it. Yes, that's okay. I like it a little bit dramatic. But at this point, she's already here, so she will, of course, introduce her guest and then get the
what their achievements have been, their challenges, we also hope to hear from them in terms of recommendations. With the current challenges we have, but also adapting to the new normal, because we know COVID is not, as Saini said, Uncle COVID is not going away very, very soon. So we do have this afternoon a lineup of speakers. Young entrepreneurs, also business support organizations that will share their recommendations and challenges. But again, saying within their experience during the pandemic, but also in terms of at the same time sharing what has been the impact of she trades in the Gambia. So let me just start and call the first speaker, and that is Miss Elsie Amy Williams. She is the founder of Elsie's Women Empowerment Farm, and she graduated from high school in 2012 and enrolled at the Gambia College in 2015 and acquired a certificate in PTC in 2018. In the same year, she got a chance to travel to Upper River region, where she learned of the region's part engagement in cotton farming. Her struggle to understand why the Gambia stopped growing cotton inspired her to go production. And in 2019, she did her first trial on conventional cotton production. While continuing to pilot on 100% organic cotton, she received a grant from She Trades in 2020 and bought 5 hectares of land to continue her work in cotton production. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Elsie Williams. Let me break protocol here.
innovative and modern creations with recycling materials and fabrics into doormats, bed sheets, and bags to promote a sustainable and clean environment. Her brand has grown, and she works with a creative female team of seamstresses to support self-independence, empowerment, and employment creation in communities and women groups. This company is now on the verge of introducing a house deco using the African broom. Ms. Jallo is aiming to expand her work both nationally and internationally and continue supporting women. Ms. Jallo, you're welcome. Then we have Madam Aissatou Dieja Sawane, commonly known Auntie Die, right? Aissatou Dieja Sawane, commonly known again as Die, is an accomplished community organizer, women rights activist, certified healthcare professional, a farmer, builder, businesswoman, job creator, with an impressive career spanning 40 years across Africa, Europe, and the United States. She is currently the chairperson of the National Women Council, a member of the Women Business Advocacy Group, and most recently also a founder of Auntie Die's Poultry and Vegetable Farm. That's in Basori. She's working on to leverage her lifelong experience and knowledge towards the advancement of women and gender parity in the political, economic, and social spheres of the Gambia and across Africa. We also have Mrs. Nafi Barre. Mrs. Barre holds a diploma in financial management from the Institute of Financial Management, Madras, in India, and a certificate in budgeting and financial management from Harvard University. As a career civil servant with over 35 years of experience, she started her career as an accounts clerk at the Accountant General's Office in 1980 and a fiscal officer at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs in 1984. From there, she served in various capacities, including public and private sector boards, director of budget, and deputy permanent secretary at the Ministries of Finance and Trade, and then subsequently as permanent secretary at the Ministry of Trade. In her position as permanent secretary at Trade from 2010 to 2018, Mrs. Barry initiated and led the formulation and implementation of various policies and initiatives to promote public-private sector dialogue, improve the business environment, and enhance private sector development in the Gambia. Her passion for women empowerment and addressing the plight of women in business led her to being one of the founding members of the Gambia Women Chamber of Commerce in 2019, to which she is currently serving as the president. Mrs. Barry is also the chairperson of the She Trades Advisory Board in the Gambia. Welcome, Madam Barry. Last but not the least, we have Mr. Salum Malang. Mr. Malang holds an MSc in Public Sector Management and a BSc in Business Administration. Mr. Malang is currently the Director General of the Gambia Public Procurement Authority, and he was also, before that, the Deputy Managing Director of the Gambia International Airlines, Head of Corporate Planning at GIA, Human Resource Manager, and also Human Resource Officer at the same institution. Before that, he was also the Commercial and Admin Officer at the Banjul Shipyard, Gambia Ports Authority, and prior to that, was a bank clerk at the Standard Chartered Bank. Let us welcome Mr. Malang, who is a he for she champion, I have to say. We know we've lost quite a lot of time, and some people have some engagements, so we would keep the session as short as possible, but I'm sure you agree this is a very important session as well. This morning, as I've said, we've had the highlights from the various statements that have been given in terms of what has been the impact, the results from the She Trades project in the Gambia, which I must say is here to complement the efforts of the government and other partners in terms of increasing women's participation in trade by improving their competitiveness and also strengthening their market linkages, of course, within enabling business environment. So at this point, let me also hasten to say that we all know that the COVID pandemic has really made 2020, and still now, I would say, a very challenging year. But nonetheless, a lot of entrepreneurs were also able to still take advantage of the opportunities that were there. And the project also was still able to also move forward in terms of implementation, of course, adapting some of the elements that they wanted to work. And we can say that at least by 2020, they were able to implement at least 70% in terms of what was intended to be done. Currently, what we have, again, not wanting to really repeat what has been said this morning, but I think it's also important to remind ourselves that the key focus that we have started with has been in terms of horticulture, but also looking at fashion and textiles. And currently, what we have is that we have 46 women businesses in fashion that are being supported through She Trades, and for horticulture, there are 33. But also, there are 10 value chain partners. I think this is also important, that in terms of really trying to get the results that we are aspiring for, it's not just about working with the entrepreneurs, but we also have to look at other actors within the value chain to be able to support us. So in this session, we will hear from the two entrepreneurs, that's Elsie and Rebecca, who have been able to, again, make use of the opportunities provided by the project. But we would also hear from business support organizations, the Gambia Women Chamber of Commerce, but also from the NTDA in terms of the Women Business Council, but also more in terms of the WBAG, which is the Women Business Advocacy Group. And last but not the least, we'll also hear from Mr. Sanyang from the GPPA in terms of the work that they have in the collaboration, I would say, and partnerships with She Trades and the Ministry of Trade in terms of supporting women in business, particularly when it comes to public procurement. So we'll have 2 rounds in terms of questions, and then each speaker has 3 minutes to share their insights or what they want to talk about. And then we would also have then a second round of questions before we bring this session to a close. So I would basically start with the She Trades beneficiaries. Well, they're here as entities in terms of their businesses, but also representing the other She Trades companies in this session that we have. So I would first start with Elsie in terms of what has been your major business achievements this year, but also in terms of the challenges that you have faced in this past year.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elsie Williams, a founder of Elsie's Women Empowerment Farm. She rightly said. Part of my challenges from 2020 to 2021 has been a lot. I would first of all talk about the grant that the land want is to grow the cotton late and see how best the cotton will adapt to that. And then part of the challenges we are facing, especially last year, we all know the rain was too much, uncertainty of rainfall, the rain was too much. So most of the cotton growers, our cotton did not survive because there was a time it was raining 3 days in a row non-stop in URR. I was in my hut. I have my little hut that I call my 5-star hotel in URR. I was in my hut and I was crying. I'm like, no, my cotton will not survive because the water is too much. Those were part of my achievements and also challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rebecca, over to you.
Good afternoon to you all. Good afternoon to you all. Reps Design major business achievement with She Trade started on the 4th of September 2019. When we had the first capacity building with an expert from the UK that taught us more about fashion, how to prepare ourselves for trade fairs, and so on and so forth. And Reps Design was lucky to be part of the members that she had the opportunity to visit her shop. And at the end of the day, what Reps Design benefited from the training was she was able to see some of my works and she was able to rectify and show us how to go about sewing, for instance, kids wear that will be reversible. And at the end of the day, we were given an assignment, and I was happy that the last Women Forum, that was in 2019, the assignment that was given to me was showcase, and the First Lady bought it. So that was part of the achievements that Reps Design benefited from She Trade. And the other one was the packaging training that we attended from an expert too from India. And most of us that are into fashion, at the end of the day, what we just use is, for instance, this packaging that we have here, the plastic bag to cover it. And that was discouraged because the one thing that we are all into is to work on how to make the environment to be friendly, thereby discouraging the use of plastic. So boxes were introduced, and for instance, the potato sack that you can make out of bag for packaging as well. And the other one that we benefited from the She Trade was the photography. That was during the COVID, when we were being taught how to take pictures of our products, thereby not paying photographers to do it for us. We can just use our mobile phones and do it and edit it to the way that we want it to be. And the last but not the least achievements that we have from She Trade is the fashion training, technical fashion training that we had this past February, that we benefited from most, because like 6 international fashion designers were invited from Senegal, and it was a 2-day, 3-day training, but we have learned a lot from that training. Thereby, they're showing us techniques about how to use the pattern, the rulers, and all that we have not been doing, or we didn't know about that. So that was one thing that we have learned. The challenges were being introduced to all those things, and at the end of the day, it's difficult to have the raw materials so that you can make your work perfect or the way that you want it to be. For instance, the training that we had with the fashion expert from UK, she introduced us to pattern cutting and drafting, but at the end of the day, to have the pattern papers to cut was difficult. Thereby, what I did was I improvised, used the cement paper, and it takes time to clean it and package it so that you can have the pattern paper that you will need to cut. Those were some of the challenges that we faced. And the other challenge was finance as well. Because at the end of the day, we were able to realize that some of the materials that were introduced to us as young entrepreneurs, some of it are available here, but at a cost as well. So that is where finance come in. So if you are being taught all of these, and at the end of the day, the raw materials is very difficult to have here, you find it difficult for you to be able to implement or meet the target that you are being taught. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca and Elsie, for sharing those insights, and also, of course, not only the benefits, but also in terms of the challenges. At some point, we would also want to get to the recommendations in terms of what can be done, and we can also share some insights or some of the plans from the level of YEP, I would say, and ITC in terms of initiatives that will also be able to help you overcome some of the challenges, like we spoke about the pattern cutting, but also in terms of some of those raw materials. For example, we are working on having a creative center, a hub in Bakote for weaving and garment construction, tailoring, but also looking at some of the inputs that are needed, so that people who want to produce, we know a lot of them would have the demand, but they don't have a place where they can do the production. So that would be a place for training, but also in terms of production and being able to address some of these challenges. But we also recognize that you both are also coming up with innovative ways in terms of like using the cement paper, washing it, and all of that to be able to use that. And I think for Elsie as well, I think it's really great in terms of having a young woman in cotton, trying to revive cotton production in the Gambia, because a lot of the cotton that we're using, or I would say almost all of it, is coming from outside. So this would also be good linkages with the center in which this cotton can also be used. We know that the ginnery is currently, or has not been functioning for a very long time. Abdullah, where are you? Ministry of Trade. So I think, anyway, I don't want to say everything that Elsie is going to say. So let me just stop there for now, and then we can come to that in the next round in terms of what she does with the cotton that is being produced. Next, we would have Madam Barry, the president of the Gambia Women Chamber of Commerce, and Mrs. Sawane from the Women Business Council, but also WBAG, and Mr. Salum Malam. We just want to hear from you in terms of what ways you have been partners with the She Trades, and what ways have you worked in terms of supporting women businesses during this pandemic, and what are some of the specific initiatives that She Trades, you have partnered with She Trades on. So it's really an open question, not only limited to what you have done with She Trades, but also in terms of overall for this pandemic. How have you supported women-owned businesses as organizations? Yes, we can start with Madam Barry. Over to you.
Thank you, Fatou, and good afternoon to everybody. Like I was introduced, I am Mrs. Nafi Barry, the president of the Gambia Women's Chamber, but also the chairperson of the She Trades Advisory Board. So I thank the organizers for inviting us, of course. First and foremost, Fatou, I think we were set up to help women, having recognized the difficulties that women have, especially in doing business. Unfortunately, we started in 2019, and by the end of 2019 came COVID, and it made it more difficult for women. It was already difficult for women, but it made it more difficult for women. But and so in that event, what we did was we had partnered with She Trades. They recognized, of course, the need to help us, and we had partnered with them. And one of them, some of the areas of cooperation included like the support in accessing procurement opportunities during the pandemic crisis, of course, and also at the recovery stage. what are we talking about here? We were tasked to collect first and foremost the list of all women doing business, of course, through the institutions that they will regularly register through, so that we can have a database. We all know that having data in this country is a challenge, and more so for women, because most of us are involved in the informal sector. Therefore, we thought, how you cannot help somebody if you cannot identify them. So we're trying to build a database through the support of She Trades to continue. The other aspect was to be involved in the procurement activities. And by doing that, what we do is we have a website. We also have a WhatsApp page that we try to gather information that is going around town and make sure all women are informed. And some of the activities that women were able to participate in was the latest purchase of food and food items that government launched to help the victims of COVID, although the vulnerable people during COVID. So that we have been trying to do. Again, we're part of the WBAG, which is also supported by UNDP, and we try to get the voices of the women through that consultative group. Again, we're trying to support women entrepreneurs in bid preparation. We all know it's not easy. We try to expose them to how do we do these bids, online meetings that we've been having, online forms, how do you fill them? Generally, it's giving the women information, because during COVID, you cannot go out. Therefore, you should be able to sit at the office or at home and do a lot of things. Through that, She Trades Gambia had helped us in the acquisition of some computers. We have internet services. So some of our members, whoever needs those services, can come to the office and use them, so that the impact of not being able to move out will not be felt. We have done a series of training for the women through the help of She Trades as well. One which is most prominent was the preparation of business plans and bios. We all know you can call a woman here and say, how long have you been in business? They will tell you maybe 30 years. They have never been registered. They don't know, they don't have a business plan. What they know is, I bought this and I sold it for this. That's not what business is all about. So we're trying to bring them up to space. If we think the women must grow, if we think the women must be counted in those that are doing business, I think we should be able to equip them to do certain things so that they're part of the conversation, as we always say. So we've done, actually, even how to write letters, quality letters, we've been able to do those trainings, among others. We have also been organizing a training on digital literacy. Nowadays, we all know if you're not in the digital world, you may be left behind. Digital, we're not only talking about even those that have not been to school, that are not literate, but you can use the WhatsApp to carry on a lot of messages, in fact, and it will get across. So those trainings we have been able to do. We have done B2B meetings. We have seen those that have progressed and have the capacity. We've talked to various bigger enterprises. I can also say here that in our midst is Hadi Wadango, who is a member. She is part of the She Trades sponsor, but she's also part of GWCC. And during the conversations and training, she was able to look at an opportunity and grab it. She now has a store wherein you can find all made in the Gambia products in one shop. You go there, you find everything. She's trying to support the women who don't have access to women. And this is one of our vision, to provide markets for the women. So we have had, so this I think is a success story that we are all proud of, and we hope that it will continue. We're not stopping at one shop. We want to encourage members to go outside. For those small ones, you must come together to grow. Therefore, we give them the opportunity. Somebody is going to house, we're going to have different outlets, inshallah. Among others, B2B, we've also had places like Malak that are very reputable here they're also showcasing the products that the women are making. So you could see that we're having markets indeed. I can go on, but let me also talk about, we have had the opportunity for She Trades to sponsor the women, not only women that belong to the Women's Chamber, but Gambian women to showcase their products in a trade fair. We had a women's pavilion first in the Gambia. Of course, all of you that go to the trade fairs know that there are sections there, but to have a whole pavilion dedicated to women was a first of its kind, and it was sponsored by She Trades. So we had all the women in one pavilion and showcasing what they had to offer. So this was indeed a good one, but unfortunately, like we say, COVID is around, still around, so we have not been able to replicate that. And we also hope to establish regional chapters in the 5 regions of the Gambia. This has been slow again, but we think it is not only the women in the urban area that matter. When we talk of women, we need to include everybody, and She Trades is in support of what we do and is ready to see us through, where we plan to organize sensitizations in the 5 regions. We have a regional chapter within our organization, and we also want to train women on entrepreneurship and others for the rural women, which is yet to start. And the last but not the least activity is the institutional support that has been given by She Trades to help us deliver our mandate. And this, among others, is we've been given computers, and we have been supported. We're just 1 year old. We were able to do our audit. We were able to do the audit of our accounts and also hold AGM, which really is a step in the right direction, among others. Let me stop here, Fatou, until I still have that.
No, you don't. I think we've been very generous in terms of time. But thank you so much, Nafi, for sharing that. And we take note that it's not only about the work you have done for women in business during the pandemic, but also as an institution that is 1 year, you've been able to really leverage on this opportunity and, being able to do so much within that time. I think we would also all agree that whilst COVID has brought a lot of challenges, it has also brought opportunities and also propelled people in terms of really looking at other ways, innovative ways of doing business and, being able to get something done, including, as you've talked about, the digitization, use of the internet, online stores, and all of that. So I think, yes, COVID's been difficult, but also we've been still able to achieve something and show results. At this point, let me call on Madam Die Sawane to also share some of the work that they've done to support women-owned businesses during the pandemic, but also...
Okay. Over to you. Thank you very much, Madam Fatou. What's wrong with my mic? Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Fatou. Good afternoon, everybody. And I'm thanking you again for the wrong introduction of my profile. And I hope by the time I retire, it will be a book. Because I don't plan to stop now. Because I think all of us will have to do that. We have identified gender champions today. And as one of the speakers said, we are all gender champions on a daily basis. Now is not the time to relax. I am a member of the Women in Business Advisory Group that was set by UNDP. A group of women came together from different sectors. And we have realized the need for it. As we all know, government is the biggest, the largest institution that gives contract. The percentage of procurement that goes in this country is in millions. And what do the women get? noted what is the percentage. Somebody said 1% out of what? That is really, really not correct. If we are talking about gender equality, that's where it should start. So when we came together, we thought it was right and necessary to go into that area. And where do you start? We start from the policy making. And that's why right now, as we are speaking, there is a bill, Mr. Malan, who is the head of the GPPA. We had several meetings with him. We have had several meetings with different stakeholders. The Minister of Trade is represented in that group, the Vice President. So government is already taking the lead, and we are pushing to get the 30% quota of that procurement. Because at the end of the day, if you ask me to register and pay all the dues, knowing that I'm not going to get one consideration in getting the contract, why would I bother? It's a waste of my time, my energy, and everything else. And so that is the reason why we start with the policy. And we hope at that level where it is now at, it will be considered and it will be taken care of. And then we can start talking about gender equality and equity. And I think it is now a universally accepted adage that no country will develop without the participation of women. So therefore, for every serious government, will put women in the forefront. And that's the reason why the Women in Business Advocacy is working hand in glove with the She Trade, Gambia and UK, pushing to get that step working. It is so difficult and it is so frustrating that we see all the procurements going in different angles without one representation from the women. But since we started with this recently, during the government COVID response, the food items was contracted to some ladies. And they delivered. And there is not a doubt in our mind that when you give women to do a task, they do it successfully. They do it successfully. And COVID-19 actually has proven that beyond doubt. Women have always been working hard, doing our triple roles, and yet still, COVID-19, that everybody was shut down, everything was shut down. But no, who do you see? The women out there with their resilience, going out to find a way to still to continue to put food on the table, go to their farms, their gardens, still maintain the cultural, the social function that women are involved in. So COVID-19 actually, in as much as it hampers on our development and our achievement, yet still the women prove that look, with or without COVID-19 we are going. And that's where we are heading to. So I belong to numerous groups. As I said, by the time I die, it will be 2 pages or a book. I am the chairperson of the National Women's Council, and which is representative of the whole women in the Gambia, from Katong to Koila, from this area to the rural areas. And I know peers have touched on the Enterprise Development Fund that is really been welcome in our country. And the women, again, the government of the Gambia set up a fund to help women. Now it's not only about saying it, it's about doing it. And if you look at it, years back when we started, we didn't have this opportunity. Nowadays, they invite me to a workshop. I say, oh, I'm too old to go to these workshops. But yet still, I still go because, as I said, I'm not stopping. I know that I have to keep working so that others will follow. And now we are at the space, at the point in time that the talking is no longer what we need is the action. So with the policy in place, as you know, the Enterprise Development Fund had to go through a legal framework. It had to go to the House of the Parliament, and it became an act. And if we have such things with the procurement, that is really going to help us. At least now when you tell a woman, register, go for the procurement, they will be willing because there is a 30% quota that gives you an encouragement to pursue and say, look, there are chances of me getting this contract is there, so let me go ahead and pursue it. But if I know that it's a waste of my time, why would I even bother to go and register? I will not bother, and that's the reason why many of the women are not registered. They spend their money and they don't see anything back. But now, as it is going, we hope it goes well with the policemen. And of course, the former speaker spoke about policies, women in politics. Anti-Binta, this is the importance of getting the women. Where policies are made, that let them be part of it. So that they would actually know how to cater for ourselves. Let's not just leave the catering for the men to decide next amount of dollars is go to this woman. No. Let us be the deciders of our fate. So in a nutshell, She Trade UK and She Trade Gambia are partnering together. And as I said, when they gave the women the opportunity to deliver those food items, they did better than the men. They did better than the men. There was a point, we heard about it, that there was a point they had to call the women in the middle of the night to ask them, can you deliver so and so? Because the men that were assigned couldn't deliver. And the last thing I'm going to say is to encourage we the women to come together. If procurements are $10 million and no one person cannot come up with $10 million, what is stopping us coming together and putting that procurement? And that is one of the most important things, that we the women coming together. And what I will end my speech with, or what I am contributing, is we cannot, the women of Gambia cannot go, we cannot go further without a coalition, a strong coalition of Gambian women. That is what I say. A strong coalition of Gambian women is coming together. Together we stand, divided we'll fall. We'll be here for the next doomsday. We'll be talking about issues. We'll be going to workshops. We eat and drink. At the end of the day, nothing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Diwe Sawane, for that. We know your passion for women empowerment. And you always, as you said, doing your best really to reach out to different stakeholders, whether in public or the private sector, to ensure that at least you do give your best in terms of the agenda when it comes to women empowerment. And I don't know, in terms of, you've mentioned WBAG, the Women Business Council, and the public procurement, and I think we were really happy that with all the efforts that have been done through the WBAG, the minister today did mention that at least 47% of that public procurement went to women. And I can clearly say that it's really mainly because of the efforts that have been done in terms of creating awareness, but also supporting women and encouraging them, despite the short notice, to really not give up and take advantage of that opportunity. So we're happy that that work continues
in terms of looking at the element, of course, related to policy, because we don't want these things to be just ad hoc. But we need to have that gender-responsive policy that it's out there to guide everybody, and together we to still work in terms of being able to meet their aspirations. Because I know Auntie DA mentioned 30%, and when we were even debating that 30%, I'm like, Auntie DA, I think 30% right now would be a challenge. And she's, because of this, and that, and she was like, yes, Fatou. No, Fatou, I think we should go for 30% right now. So really, we understand your passion for this, and we hope we would all together be able to meet that aspiration. Next, we have Malam, our he for she at the Gambia Public Procurement Authority, who's also here to share in terms of what the GPPA has been doing in supporting women businesses during past year, and also any collaboration that you have done with She Trades. Let me also say, we're in March, that's the month for women as well. So this is a good start in the month, and we look forward to the other activities and the platforms where we're able to talk more in terms of the experiences of women, but also what are we doing to support them, particularly during this pandemic, but also preparing for post-COVID. Over to you, Mala.
Thank you very much, Madam Jallo. My greetings to Madam Jallo and all the other participants. I'm special greetings to Nafi Bari, former PS. I work with her many occasions, and I'm happy to be with her. I feel comfortable being next to her. She was somehow a mentor. I would have jumped around away because of the setup, but with her now, I'm confident. And looking at the arrangement of according to your schedule, I was supposed to be forced to speak, but when you did what I wanted you to do, I would have given a chance to Madam Bari and my sister to talk, then I come last. Like in my motto, I say ladies first. And to show you, yes. I really like that. I would have, just to show how to align myself with women. I'm a he, a she here. Okay. And to confirm that I have already high important meeting with the EU that was scheduled months back. It's currently taking place at the other OIC room, and that was scheduled months before today. But I told them with this one I have to attend. So that's why I was late when you said I wasn't here, because you started a little bit late, and it was for me to have time to give a presentation. I had to squeeze and go there, to a presentation. I told them, confess to them that you have a very important meeting today dealing with C. And uniting with C is very important, and they all agreed. So I had to come. So just to show how I value this important body. Yes. And all this while, I always delegate my director Simon to attend me in the meetings in the Zoom because I'm so busy. But with this one, I told him, no, I have to go myself, because I don't want me to be looked. I don't want them to start looking at somebody who's against the sea when I'm a real sea myself. So, thank you very much, Madam Bari. Thank you. Actually, the GPPA has always been in support of this sea concept and initiative. Excuse my language, and in line with our objectives, is to, apart from transparency and value for money, is to facilitate the participation of small and medium enterprises, which most of it is occupied by women. If you look at SMEs, they are the majority in there. But like my sister said, we're now looking forward to women being the big one instead. And then to justify how GP has been in support of women activities in the Gambia. I'll start with the rise, the COVID-19 rise. That procurement should have been a single source, because one, it was an emergency situation, and there was no time. Should have been a single source. You don't even have time to prepare a tender document. It cannot be RFQ because the threshold there is It's above the RFQ. It can only be a tender. There's no time to prepare a tender document, an open tender. PP does to bid, it will take a month or two. But no, the GPPA on the Tambiru said no, looking at the economic of the country and looking at this objective of the GPPA to facilitate the participation of small SMEs and individuals in public procurement, I think it's important we devise. And it was devised, it was a tender without a tender document. And out of that 60 people participated, I think 30 were awarded. And 30%, like my sister said, was earmarked for women, and then they actually delivered. So you can see that GPPA has broken their own rules just to make sure that women at least have a stake in it, because there were no commercial activities, markets were closed, and the markets were dominated by the women. Now, opening this one for them will give them an opportunity to participate. And during those days, GPPA was very flexible on the registration. We are very flexible. Some will be on credit, they come and pay, just to enable them, participate. And I have to reveal here my humble self sometime recently had to give my own contract to a lady to supply my staff, rice in replacement of the end of year party. But with the COVID, I said no party, but I give each a bag of rice. You buy one party with your family. And I look at the list of women suppliers from that COVID-19 list, and I choose one or two, call them, the one who was able to meet the criteria, I will contact to her. But I have to show the lady how to fill invoice, how to do that. So that comes a capacity building, But that shows how GPP is, committed to the cause of bringing the status of women in the Gambia. The first I will come up with is the capacity building. Currently, we just have a team that came from North Bank, from Bara to Basse, offering training with two ADB, with the collaboration with ADB, it was owned by ADB. We are trained 250 suppliers, and this includes women. And there's another batch going very soon, a week or two, another batch the second batch will leave, going towards this South Bank, from Birkama to Basse. So, secondly, in line with capacity building, GPPA, currently we have an institute, an academy. It's called GPPA, Gambia Public Procurement Institute. It's the best procurement academy in the country now. From 2014 to 2020, we produced 441 graduates in certificate level. Out of that, 51% are women. The diploma level, we produce 188, and 48% of that are women. So you can say, as far as GPP is concerned, women are not left behind. And guess what? When I came on board newly, a month or two, when I attended the first meeting with the VP office, it was a very hot meeting for me that day. Because then I knew how important. From that point where I knew the weaknesses, I tasked my technical team to build the capacity of the women, because I know that's where the weakness lies. And if you want to solve a problem, you go to the core, not the symptoms. If you have malaria, you may have headache, fever. If you take paracetamol, your headache will go, but malaria will be there. So for me, I'm practical. I solve problems I solve problems where they should be solved, and then everything will fall in place. So we produce two modules for women. One module is called Women in Procurement. It's a module that is produced. It's an international standard training module that people can pay from all over the world, come and just like we go travel outside to attend short courses. It is that type of module that we produce. The second is called How to Access Government Business. But nobody has really touched on that one. Because if you don't know how to access government business, you cannot win contracts. Sometimes not all deliberate, maybe when I left out, but because we know how. So we are in business somehow, and we see that this is the need. there is a market for it. We come up with these two modules. And it's not only a short course now, it is added to our diploma program now. It's added to our diploma program that if you do a course in our diploma program, you will also do these two courses as part of graduation requirements. So that also tells you GPP, how GPP is committed to the cause of the women. Not only that, in our data system, the registration, if you go to GPP, you register for a business. We make sure in the registration form, we cater a column to indicate whether you are a male or a female. That will help us to quantify and know how many women are in business. And not only that, we also went further. The award certificate, the award form, if you win a contract, we call it Form 30. It's called Form 30. That's what the suppliers will fill to send to us when they award a contract. In that form also, we also indicated whether the awardee is a male or a female. So the GPPA actually has always been and will continue to be, to add value to whatever the women are doing in this country. And as a provincial child, my mother is a woman, don't remember, and I know how women, what they go through to make ends meet. I know what they go through to make things happen. So he who feels it knows it. So be assured that GPP is definitely behind you in all the activities. One advice I would give to the C3, and like Madam Bade has touched on it, I'm happy with that one. The women across the country is the concept I want to emphasize here. If you go to the province like Basi, I come from Basi. You go to Alonghare, you go to, of course, born and brought up in Basi town, Manambunda. Yes. Damfa Kunda, Alonghare, those villages women are so hardworking. And I can remember in my childhood days, you have a lot of stock, a lot of vegetables, horticulture, rampant in the country or in the market, we steal. When I travel outside to my bachelor's degree in Malaysia, then I knew the importance of vegetables and stuff like that. Then I realized on the whole what we have back home definitely is an asset. It's like it's a gold mine that we never know. And the good thing is those foods are organic. In those days you don't need manure, unlike now, to go into garden. So they are organic and healthy. So what I'm saying now, the development is like a chain. It's a chain. And we have to start just now. So C3 has to go beyond just amnabetic fee, the man supply furniture, man of Sanwafula. No. We have to go beyond that now. Let's go into that direction. What I'm picking up here is, like Madam Bari said, shake hands with those rural folks who are into this horticulture. And the good thing is, all those boys from Spain now, these Bagay boys in the provinces, they work in the farms there when they go there. You know what they do when they come? They also start farming. In the Sandu, you go now, those fellows are going into gardens now. So the mine is there already. When you shake hands with those rural folks, you form them into groups like Senegal is doing, form them into groups, society, then you start producing those horticultural products. They cannot market it. Like Madam Bari said, because you just that's level. They cannot access the market. Now we have a very vibrant, effective public transport system. GTSC is at least trying. And the roads are now okay. From northbound, southbound, you go whoop. Those roads are even better than the one in Banyu Serekunda. So the link is there now. The bridges will almost soon in Basi. So communication would be that easy now. I was thinking, through consultancy with your partners in Europe, you see how you shake hands with them, develop them into a group. When they produce, they have preservation, sell it to the government market. That will minimize us depending on foreign vegetables that come from a neighboring country. We are in our own economy and feeding somebody else. When you have all these takes to feed ourselves here. That's going to be the first step. One of the groups, have to see how you organize in such a way that when they produce, it is at its soul. Okay? So government would not mind bringing some protective clauses, policies to protect local infant industry and local content. That's the first step. The second step now would be, we have our cargo, BGI, we have a cargo, one of the best in the sub-region. You can now export food products from the Gambia to any EU or via any EU country. If you don't have that facility, you cannot do it. Now we have it. We can do it now. So if there's excess, you can go further again to see how do you make it possible, how do you get contacts outside. The way that is also done, Marina has a small idea about that one, but the way it is done, you have to use foreign embassies in those areas to help you, link you with some partners there, to at least to work out how to certify Gambian horticulture fit for consumption in those markets. Then simple. When that happens, excess, package it properly, to take it to the airport, export it to Europe. That's economy. And the third phase would be, how do we now go into industry? How do we now process it to add value? Not only produce tomato, jai, jenda, banju, you export now to France. No. Now, how do I take that tomato, turn it into pots, stuff like that, consume it here, consume it outside. So I want the seed trade now to go to be thinking along those lines strategically, and the development is a chain, and other links are there. Now it is doing very well. Very soon, power will not be an issue in the country anymore. From last time I attended the inauguration, I think by 2025, we expect to be one of the, I think the first or among the first countries to achieve the 2030 target. We'll achieve 5 years before 2025. But in any case, power is now improving. So those things are in place. The other issue is transportation. Communication is easy now. The roads are there, infrastructure is there. So when the market is there, you will see a lot of cars flying, base. You can even have a sort of a specialized, if people from manufacturer can take a loan and buy a truck with frigate to go and take this food from base to here. It's business for everyone. Naturally, they will come. So I'm running the seat now to think along those lines. I went to Senegal the other time before the COVID,
You are doing your second round.
Okay.
This is the recommendations.
Okay.
You are doing the second round now.
Because I'm so
excited
about the women. Like I'm a C now, Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Malang. Yes, you are going into the second round, right? But we take note in terms of everything that GPPA has been doing in terms of supporting women in business, and of course not forgetting the public procurement you have mentioned, but also the fact that you're doing a lot when it comes to capacity building for women. Because we always say it's not about the quota that is given or the piece of the cake that is given. It's really women able to actually take advantage of that. So we need to ensure also, as we advocate for quota, for greater, piece of action, we need to also ensure that the women have the capacities to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. And without taking you to the second round, just to say that all the elements, you'll be happy to know that all the elements that you have mentioned are also within what She Trades, ITC, and other partners are looking at in terms of ensuring we are not only talking about, as you say in gender jai, but also in terms of actually going into value addition as well. Let me just mention, without wasting much time, that you mentioned the element related to, produce of country. Also in terms of women, the challenge they're facing. I would say that during the pandemic, there was a big challenge in terms of women farmers being able to move their produce, and also in terms of markets. So Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Gender, Agriculture, FAO, ITC, and the IMVF came together in terms of supporting them to be able to move the produce from upcountry, but also being able to link them to buyers, and those buyers were mainly importers.
So I think that's something very important to show that, there are flexibilities and also, partnerships out there in terms of being able to support the women. And Abdullah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think about 16 tons of onions were moved through this initiative, and this was from about 215 gardens in the North Bank and CRR. So I think this shows again the importance in terms of collaboration and partnerships between government, private sector, but also development partners. At this point, I think we would just, time really is not on our side, but I always say that we have to ensure we hear from the, from the people that are involved in all of this. So we'll just move to the second round. And Malang, since you were supposed to speak first, and then I took you to the end, we would just allow you to be the first speaker for the second round, which is really to talk about your future plans in terms of adapting to the new normal. Over to you.
Well, if I have it my way, it will still score remains. Now what you do is like, is what I want to see, what I want. And you do what I was thinking. So I want you to continue that way. Ladies first. Yes, Madam Barry can go first, then I come next.
You want to, okay, maybe I shouldn't be asking questions, right? But we would want to know more in terms, particularly when it comes to public procurement. We understand you're talking about the capacity building that is being done. You know the bill is at National Assembly also. What are the other things that you're looking at in terms of to the future? Because we also understand in terms of, it's about adapting as well. You stress some of the flexibilities that GPA had to do when it came to the procurement of food for food items. So anything else in your, as GPPA that you are looking at in this direction, in again supporting women in business?
Okay, thank you very much. In the current act, in the bill that is at the National Assembly, we have a provision for marginalized group, and that captures women. But since it is still at that stage, you can't do much until it comes out. But we know very well we'll definitely do something for women, which we are already doing even before the bill comes out. How it will end up will not be entirely on our hands. It will depend on the international standards. But the key and the most important thing is women will be considered somehow, whichever way you think it, definitely in doing the regulations and in the manuals which are already been prepared now. That's why we'll see how we filter in some of those issues. So definitely women are good to go as GP is concerned within the compliance.
Thank you. And Madam Barry, the same question in terms of future.
Thank you, Fatou. Malang, I would not agree to what you just said, that women will be part of the marginalized group. We want women-specific laws. Let it come out as women in procurement rather than us being in the box where you would have the disabled, the youth, the underprivileged, whatever. We want women as women. I think everybody would agree with us that that is what we want. So please take note. I think from your contribution, what I have heard, you've been continuously talking about forming groups. I think what we want, and we have been in consultation with the Ministry of Gender, is to really form women cooperatives, mainly in the horticulture and the poultry sector for a start. This is what we've been advocating for, and we are going to continue to advocate. I think what we need to have probably is a strategy document so that we can use that to make sure that this thing happens. The conversation has started, like I said, with the Minister of Gender, and we will continue as an organization to work for this. We have been going around, not only for, I'm sorry, it was three, it's the fish, poultry, and horticulture. So we're doing that. Malang, you talked about the certification, really, to make sure that we can use the, what's it called, our cargo complex at the airport. The Minister of Trade, Abdullah, is here. He can correct me. But I remember about a few years ago, we had done a pilot in trying to certify ISO certification for some companies that are operating in the export sector. They are here, they can transfer those skills. And again, if that is not possible, we want to ask the Ministry of Trade to do that, probably through the She Trades project, this time in particular for women that have these companies or the yet to be formed cooperatives, to make sure that they are ISO certified so that their strengths would be available to enable exports to other countries. And while we do so, we continue to strive for the, we're hoping that in 2020 and beyond, there would certainly be growth in the participation of women. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Sawane.
Okay. Thank you, Fatou. Thank you so much. Yeah, I remember that day when we had a little push and pull about what kind of representation that we want. And I always say that when you dream, dream big. And I said I have very big ambitions. It's either yes or no. But when I'm asking for something, I try to ask for a bigger amount. Thank you for reminding me. Mr. Malang from the GPP, my brother, I didn't know you are from Basse. We are all from Basse. Salam alaikum. So you talked about capacity building of women in this country. And I know we met before and I said something towards that. And I'm going to say it again, that now that we have a Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, I think it's right that whatever you do, we challenge it through the Ministry of Gender, or else we will be doing duplication of efforts. I was taken apart when you said you have ADB. It doesn't matter where the fund is coming. It doesn't matter which partners are there. But for us to avoid duplication of efforts, there are so many NGOs in this country. And if you go through depth, you find out that they are more or less doing the same thing because there is not a collective collaboration. I think in future, it would be better for us to at least use the line ministries. Then we can know what we are doing. When it comes to accountability, or to even say who has done what, then we will know that X group so and so was trained for so and so things. But if you go GPPA training women on how to do this without the knowledge of the Minister of Gender, and then we get up and start, we are going to tell the women, it means we are duplicating our efforts. So I think in the future we should be looking at that. And again, collectively we have spoken about what She Trade, ITC, and the Minister of Gender, the Trade Ministry have done during the COVID and still yet intervening, trying to get the vegetable sellers where to sell an outlet, because that is one of the challenging things that people are facing now. They are producing, but where are you selling? Because we cannot be moving beyond our borders or within our borders as we used to do. So it was a good thing that they collaborated and got the onion sellers to buy their produce, which was very good. And that's the reason why people like me, I'm growing more onions this year, so that I don't have to hustle to go and sell it. So I think that COVID did not only has a negative impact, but it has also taught us a lesson how to manage and how to, without any doubt, to prosper in whatever challenges we do have in the future. So as it is, that is my recommendation, that the importance of collaboration is very important, and knowing who is doing what is important. And data, because data, if you collect data and without other people utilizing it, what's the use of collecting the data? So if you are training how many women and the Minister of Gender doesn't know, if Minister of Gender is training so many women and the other party doesn't know, it is really not a good sign. So that is my recommendation, that we need to collaborate more, and we need to make sure the people that should use the data are able to use the data properly. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Pierre. And next we hear from Rebecca and then Elsie. Over to you. Just wait just a minute.
Thank you, Auntie Fatou. As my aunt said here, how women have benefited from the COVID. I was one of them. I'm a teacher at Presentation Girls Vocational School teaching tailoring. And when COVID came, all schools were closed. So what I did as a woman was, most of the girls are not having machines at their homes. But what I did was, I did a video on teaching them how to cut face masks on a pattern and sew it with hand, thereby sending the videos to the girls, and most of them, they benefited from it because they were able to sew face masks with their hands and sell it. So the new norm for my main brand, Rex Design, is going global and e-commerce, whereby whatever I am doing will be videoed and posted online. Then most of the girls and my students will benefit from that and learn from it. So that's the new norm that I benefited from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsie.
Thank you, Auntie Fatou. Once again, talking about the future plans, I believe everybody will agree with me when you talk about farming in the Gambia. Most farms are struggling because they don't have irrigation systems in their farm. So if you want to grow year-round, you need drip system or sprinkler in your farm, so that when rainy season ends, you can continue with your drip system or sprinkler. That is part of the future plan. So in my farm, we are thinking, as I said, organic cotton doesn't want too much water, and because we don't have any experts on organic cotton in the Gambia, we have to do our research ourselves. So this year, as I said, we are starting late to see how best this variety will adapt to it. The future plans will be, we have to get that farm irrigated, so that we will shift. Dry season we grow cotton, then rainy season we grow vegetable. My recommendation for she trades is, we all know farming is very expensive. Everybody will agree to that. Farming is very expensive. You don't know unless you start. So these grants they are giving, not for me, but at least those coming up, they should not put farmers in the same category of others. Farming is very expensive. When we are giving grants, let them consider this other youths coming up, because you cannot give the same grant as somebody who needs a shaft to the same grant to somebody who needs hectares and hectares of land. So that is my recommendation for she-trades, and also women. We should try and collaborate more. I forgot to introduce. I have a association called the Young Female Farmers Association, and then what we are trying to do is to break this norm of women cannot be together. So the first day I met all of them, I told them we have to try and break this norm that women cannot work together. It is very sad. If not, we are not going anywhere. It's like just going round and round the cycle with no destination. So at least now we are really adopting to that, and then trying to break this norm that women cannot work together. It's amazing to bring women from 10 different sectors and subsectors in agriculture to form an association. We are not doing the same thing. We are all doing different, but we decided to form an association to bring a change, and the change we need will come from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elsie and Rebecca. I'm being alerted that the time is against us, but we cannot, of course, end this session without having questions from the participants that are here. So we will now open it in terms of questions to the panelists. Who's facilitating? Okay, all right. Let's do a first round. I know time is against us, but it's important we also, get to hear from them. So let's say 5.
Okay, I just have a contribution regarding what he said, exporting items abroad. We have to consider the fact that items that we are going to export should be of good quality. If you want to grow your business, always put quality first. We have a lot of young people that are really doing very good, but then I still emphasize on quality. Thank you.
Next. Yeah, we get the questions first.
Hello everybody, Mr. Malan.
Maybe you introduce yourself first.
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Murusar. I am a partner of GWCC, a proud partner. So we've been working with them to build their website and the database, and I've learned a lot through them about the business climate for women in Gambia. So my question is for Mr. Maran. I really appreciate and applaud your the efforts that GPPA are doing in terms of procurement. But I haven't heard anything about really enforcing that. I just wanted to know how, if there are any mechanism to actually enforce the quota in terms of making sure that that 30% actually is 30% and is going to these women. And I think there has to be some data sharing there going on, and I'm just wondering how that is going to happen. Thank you.
Cesar?
You can answer the question.
Mrs. Gom was hands was Addison Gom, yeah. Good afternoon all. My name is Khadija Tungom, owner of Dajo Stores, which my sister Nafi had mentioned. I thank you all, the panel. Information is very, very needed, and everything you said there is to the dot, especially my sister Sawane there. This question I'm giving to Mr. Malan. I was very excited when you mentioned the export. Dajo Stores has just opened under a month ago, and I've already started exporting to Sweden, England, and America. And this helped because the media also helped a lot. Because on the day of the opening, it seemed like it exploded, and I got lots of calls from abroad where they were very happy to find out that all our products are under one roof. There's nothing of going to Serekunda to pick up one bag of this and of this of that. Everything is under one roof, all by Gambian women and youths, made in the Gambia. That's one of the reasons why I opened a store. And I'm very happy about it. But one thing I want to say, as I'm sitting here, I've got orders and I don't have the supply. The women have to up the game. I'm getting orders, a lot of orders that should be going out. I'm stocked by supplies. And it's not their fault. Most of them, it's because they have packaging problems. I think the government should come in there or help someone to bring the packaging of all the varieties of foods they have. Because I'm getting orders and I'm stocked with supplies because of no packaging. Some of them are going to Senegal. I think where Senegal is getting from, we should be able to get it. And it's much cheaper. If one company brings it up, a full container, open it and sell it to the suppliers, we will be always supplying. But if we get stuck by packaging, the business will also die out. So that's what I wanted to say. Just one more, sorry, to the lady at the end, forgot her name. Elsie. Elsie, you're into cotton, but you didn't mention whether you're exporting the cotton. Something I've realized in the Gambia, there's a lot of things that can go out, but we need to know how. Cotton, you can make pillows. We can export pillows. Cotton, it sells a lot, and it's very expensive. We have poultry. What do we do with the feathers? We throw it away. Feather pillows are very expensive. That can also be exported. That's just a thing to take note of. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Hadi. And next one? Yeah.
So
Yes, Antile.
First, I want to congratulate the presenters with all the information given to us. We have learned a lot from it. I'm going to speak on the export sector. We have a lot of stuff to export from the Gambia to other countries, especially USA. We have this AGOA. Trade would be my bear witness, but we are not utilized in the facility. First, the most constraint we have is catfish. I think Mr. Jami would bear witness to me. We have put a delegation come to his office different times. But I think this one, I want Women's Affairs, Gender Affairs, and Minister of Trade, Fisheries, to work on it. Because we are in the fashion business. I know you will say there, why you are not talking about fashion? Now we are talking about export. But we are exporting fish, and we are having a lot of constraints. There are a lot of fish that we can export, USA and other countries, but they have stopped our catfish because of certain things we don't know what is it. So I am just appealing to Minister of Trade, Minister of Gender, and Food Safety to see what is the problem. There are a lot of stuff that we can export to USA, but why did they ban our catfish going there? And other countries are making good use of it. So when we are saying export, we have it here, locally, but we cannot export it because of the facilities. We don't have, the women should have their own cold storage. Women should have their own ovens to smoke it in a way that it will compete international market. All these are lacking. What we do, when you want to ship one container, you pay over 200 or 300,000 to the cold storage, those who own the cold storage, and then process it for you and then export it. So why could we have assistance from government or from agencies that could help us to get all these facilities, packaging, export in different ways? That is the fishing sector. When it comes to the fashion sector, I will use this opportunity to thank She Trade. We should give them a round of applause because they are doing wonders. Really, I'm so glad to hear our youths. We are now old, I know, but at least we can, encourage the youths to come up. And She Trade are doing a lot of good things, financing, training. I have benefited from the training, series of training, and really it helps a lot improve my product. And I'm now exporting. The more style I'm exporting or the quantity is increased after getting your training. So I use this opportunity to thank you very much for assisting Gambian fashion and the horticultural fashion. But really, fish export, really we should work on it. Especially I will tax the PS, Women's Gender Affairs, and DPS have been discussing with him, but still nothing has been done. So let's see how best they can help us to export our fishing sector in other countries, especially USA. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of the first round. So we'll do another round. We have one comment from Seni related to the importance of quality. And let me say that there are a lot of efforts working on this. Currently, ITC is working with GAIPA and Ministry of Trade and others, supporting not only those who are in She Trades, but also other young entrepreneurs through an export advancement program, which helps them in terms of what they need to look out for, how they need to prepare, and all of that. And I know there are also other efforts by other entities. But let me also add that when we talk about quality, it's not just about export. It's also about domestic consumption. Because it's the same quality that goes out, that should be the same quality that we're consuming here. So there are some efforts. It's not going to be overnight, but I think there has been some, at least a little bit of progress and optimism in that area. But maybe others in the audience would also want to speak on that. And the second one was from Morsar, related to enforcement, but also in terms of data, and that is to Marang. Let me say for the quota, 30% quota is what is being aspired for in the new bill, but it has not yet gone. I think it's at the level of Parliament, so we're advocating to get the 30%. But Marang, I think if you could take that maybe to talk about the data element that he has mentioned as well. And yes, Marang, maybe you take that. Then we look at
Elsie, in terms of the question related to where you are exporting to, and then we would have an answer also in terms of the export of catfish or the fisheries element related to the export challenges. Mrs. Barry, you wanted to take that? And Auntie DA as well. And let me just say congratulations again to Hadi in terms of the Dajo initiative. It's really a great one. And let me say, for this one, question on the element related to packaging. We have Mr. Raymond Musa, who's the ITC rep in the Gambia, but also the project manager for YEP. He hasn't spoken the whole day, right? So Raymond, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I want you to say something about the packaging challenge that Hadi has mentioned. So over to you, Marlon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first question we want to make is the enforcement of the quota. Am I right? The second is regarding the shortage of suppliers for the lady who is into the export business.
Yes, I think you would just address the
yes.
and the data aspect.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Regarding the quota, 30% is what is expired, like she said. Like when you dream big, my sister is very, very right in that. If you want 100, if you want 50, you call 100, so that at least if you fall, you will not go with 50. It is a good strategy. But like she said, it's a wish. We're not finalized yet. And we can't do anything until the act is up with the National Assembly, approved, then we can come and look at that separately. You're going to put in the act a percentage. No. The act will just mention a privilege to be accorded to A, B, C, and D. Now, when the act is already approved, now you have to write, come on, do your regulations. Just like the Quran and the Sunnah. You know what I'm saying? The Quran is the go, but the Sunnah is produced from the Quran, you know. So now you come and produce your regulations. In the regulation, you can now put the specific number. Because changing the regulation doesn't have to go through National Assembly and all the strict issues. You can keep changing the regulation as you need it. So it is at that stage yet, and until it is out, we will not be able to enforce it. Thank you.
Let me just add on to what Madam has just said regarding the enforcement. We all know the bill is out and yet to be ratified, but we're also working on a policy on the procurement, and in that policy we're also discussing where to domicile the M&E. And I think as of the last week that we met, it was agreed that the Minister of Gender would be responsible for the M&E, so that at the end of the day, all the reports would be gathered and they would do their evaluation to report to see whether that the statements as written in the policy has been adhered to. I just wanted to add that. And regarding Auntie, I was concerned. I think all Gambians dealing in fish are concerned with this. About 2 weeks ago, the Gambia Women's Chamber visited the Minister of Fisheries, and we had asked the minister to talk to the American Embassy to find out, first and foremost, because there are a lot of speculations. People give a lot of reasons why the smoked catfish is not going. We want an official answer to the problem. We were promised that they would come back to us as of last week. They haven't, and really it's because of these engagements that we've not been able to go back to them, but be assured that we're also working on that, because a lot of our membership are also being are also engaged in this fish thing. So we want to know what the problem is so that we can solve that problem. I can tell you that we have started the engagements. Just wanted to add that to all the efforts that are being done. I know a lot of efforts have been done, but I just also want to tell you that as recent as 2 weeks ago, we have also joined in the crusade to find out what the reasons are so that we can enhance the export of smoked fish outside this country. Sally, you talked about standards. Standards are indeed very important, and that's why when we talked, I had said, the Gambia is not sitting and waiting. We have started the certification process. That's the ISO certification that I have talked about. We have certified ISO certified companies in this country. And again, like Dia said, we need to collaborate. We need to find out who these people are. If you are into production, and they were different. I think if I could recall Abdullah, it's Radwin Farm, GHE, there's a family group that is doing cashew in Brikama, and some others that we have done through the EIF project. They are already ISO certified. So it's not like there's no certification in the country. Of course, we need to do more, and like Fatou said, for local and outside consumption, they are all the same. So, but I think the Minister of Trade has started that, and we may wish to continue and expand on that, even use those that have been trained to make sure that they can train the others. And again, it goes, Hadi, I just wanted to say that, yes, the women are not coming. They don't have the ability to do more. But I don't think it's only also due to packaging materials. Packaging may be one of them. And somebody talked about coming together again. You have many producers here that deal with cereal, that deal with this. I mean, one has to look at competitive advantages, like we're talking about growing these vegetables. If I want to do Findi, Chakri, Rui, Karao, whatever, all by myself, I tend to do a little of everything, and then when you ask, it may not be available. But if we know we have an opportunity, there's a market, I should be able to specialize in doing only the Rui for you, so that anytime you need a container, I should be able to come up with that. You know, then somebody else may concentrate on, as opposed to having 10 Rui, 10 Chere and 10 D, you make that 10-10, you may have 100 of the Rui, and then somebody else has the capacity to do. I think we should also, as women leaders, try to expose our women to this. And it's an opportunity that there's something like this that is going to increase the demand. Let's work on specialization and coming together as well. I mean, sometimes Nafi may not be able to do the Rui, for example, but maybe Nafi has $100,000 in my account. What's wrong with DA who's doing the Rui to come and say, I do the services, but I want you to invest. You know, I put in my 100 or 50,000 there and expect my returns. And then there would be the demand that we're asking for. And again, I just want to say, let's come together. Let these women, we should not really diagnose their problems for them. Let them come out. They're in different groups, and all these groups are here to help. Come and say, Hadi has been asking me for Rui every week, 30. I'm not able to do that. My problem is packaging. We see how to address that. Somebody would come, but I don't have the means. We look at that and see whoever is going to be ready to finance that. Of course, with a minimum, you know, something until it grows further. I just wanted to say that for the benefit of all women that are here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma, for that question. Thank you for bringing me back. I was so in a hurry to talk. When it comes to export, my farm, we are still piloting, as I said, because we are trying to learn more about organic cotton, so that we'll be able to export at least the best quality cotton as possible. In 2019, the Senegalese came on board all of my produce. In 2020, as I said, the rain disturbed me a lot. And then, thank you for bringing me back, because I forgot a very important point. When it comes to farmers as well, there is a big challenge coming up, I can say, for every young woman, because I'm going through the challenge now, and I cannot pass that hurdle. I don't know why. So there's a report that it's required of us. If you are a farmer, a detailed environmental management plan report. If you don't produce it, they will allow you to use your land or your farm. So that one too is a hurdle, not for me, but for me and for other young ones coming up. And then as the second one is DIPA is working towards that so that we'll be able to export cotton. They have identified about 20 countries that I'll be able to export cotton to, and then they are working on that. So hopefully next year we'll be able to export cotton.
Thank you. Madam Dear, you said you wanted to say something quickly before.
I respond to Madam Awa, what you said. Madam Awa, thank you so much for that important contribution regarding the fish smoking. As I said, I am the chairperson of National Women's Council, and I work under the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare. As the intervention during the COVID-19 and still yet going, the minister was able to come up with WFP to redesign and to renovate the smoking stalls at the Tangier Fish Landing area. The work has started. They're going to have clean water supply, redesign the chimneys so that they will be doing the smoking properly and with less impact to their health, because the way it was congested. And they're going to have all the other facilities, toilets and rest places and stuff. So I just wanted to mention that is ongoing for, for people like you who want to continue doing the business. If those places are renovated and given what it needs, there shouldn't be a problem in coming up with the standards of smoking. I just wanted to bring that on. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Raymond, who actually is a gender champion at all levels. He's in here with YEP, and he's been all over the place. He's trying and he's continuing to try. He is working tirelessly. We have noticed your level of participation, and we do appreciate people like you, and you are not giving up. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you personally and on behalf of the Gambian women and on behalf of all the government agencies. Thank you very much, Raymond, for whatever you do.
Okay, let me now ask Raymond to maybe something to share based on the question related to quality, but also in terms of packaging. Over to you.
Thank you so much. I thought I could get away with listening, and to be honest, if you have a panel like that and women like you in the room, sometimes the best thing to do is just to listen and learn, really. And but at the same time, if Fatou is asking me to do something, I do not argue, I do it. So with that, let me share some thoughts. I also want to thank you for the words of appreciation, and it's really people like you who keep us motivated as well, and so I do appreciate that, but I just want to return that thank you to you really, and to all of you for doing the outstanding work that you do year round. We sometimes only get to see it on days like today, or some of the people only get to see it on days like today, but it's all the actions day in, day out that really make a difference, and they count. You asked me to say just a few words on packaging, and I think it came up a couple of times. I want to maybe just first say a few things about packaging and how it matters for the Gambia. Because we know in the Gambia we do not necessarily compete internationally in numbers. We have not a comparative advantage to compete in terms of agriculture production when it comes to Latin America, Asia, etc. Where we compete with is by value, by outstanding products, by ingredients, by the quality of it, and often we talk about the superfoods, we talk about high value, low volume exports. We talk about products that end up top shelf in the markets around the world. We're talking about moringa products, we're talking about baobab products, we're talking about all the value-added products. And I think that's where Gambia really can make a difference. And the things are growing abundantly, they are around, And I mean, you know, the cashew nuts, for instance, this is a world-class product. I've never tasted a better cashew nut than the cashew nut from the Gambia. Many other products, the same applies. If we look at the trends internationally, for superfoods, fonio is treated as the new quinoa. It's basically, you know, it costs an arm and a leg in most of the countries in terms of markets we are aspiring to go to. Moringa oil treated as liquid gold. So Gambia has all these advantages. Now that's where packaging comes in. What we have seen as ITC is around the world, if we are able to package a product properly, it's not just allowing us to ship the products, it's also allowing us to add enormous value to it. We see the value of a product in retail market going up tenfold. What before was $50 can now be $500, and people will pay for it. But for that, we need to have the right packaging solutions, and there's a lot of different things that are coming in here. And I was happy that Rebecca from RAPS was talking about, it starts of course with the knowledge. We need to first understand the importance of packaging and how to go about this. Packaging has a lot of dimensions, there's graphic designs related to it, there are different informational things that need to go on it, and I'm very happy in the time that I have been in the Gambia for the last 4 years, I've seen tremendous progress on this front. I've seen you know, products really being transformed, and if I just look at what's in front of me from Gambian entrepreneurs, there's so many new innovative products that I didn't see on the shelves 4 years ago that are here now, and that gives us, I think, a lot of confidence and optimism that we're going in the right direction. But of course it doesn't stop with the knowledge. It really is also access to packaging materials. It's something that we started tackling also in 2019 with a partnership with the Gambia Horticulture Enterprises, where we created a packaging hub of sorts, where we are imported packaging materials, made it available to discounted prices for young entrepreneurs. Demand was very high. We actually ran out of stock faster than we thought we would. There's new shipments coming in, so there is some remedy through this initiative. There are also packaging information, guides and so on that we have out there. So through the chambers, through our partners, whether it's the Women's Chamber, whether it's the Youth Chamber, whether it's GHE, reach out for this information, what is available, what are the costs, etc. So I think those things are ongoing, and we will do more in this direction as far as 2021 and onwards is concerned. But clearly the call from the entrepreneurs, from the business community is very loud in this regard. But I think we should also you know, have a vision in this. And one thing, of course, is we need to get the right materials into the country, but I'm also not saying that we should keep on importing packaging materials forever. Packaging itself is an industry. Packaging itself creates jobs, and there's a lot of packaging solutions that we can domesticate. Solutions like this for the tea bags, containers, etc. These are things that can be produced domestically as well, providing income-generating opportunities for many entrepreneurs. And it shortens, of course, the time for which the materials become available, but also, again, it adds value. And it makes the packaging industry more innovative and more responsive. Not everything needs to be like, you know, imported packaging materials. I see some really beautiful solutions with organic materials, calabash for creams and so on. So these are the solutions that I think really make products stand out as well. And of course, what we really need to look at when we talk about high-value exports is organic packaging solutions. We don't want to, you know, lead with plastic. We want to move away. We want to leapfrog into more sustainable solutions for packaging. So there is a lot out there, and I think my appeal maybe is also to the business community, women-owned companies, to play a key role in this. It's a problem that you see. The entrepreneurs, you're all problem solvers by trade. So every time we see an issue like that, either we can talk about it as a problem, or we can talk about an opportunity. This is an untapped market opportunity. And I think from as far as ITC is concerned, for different initiatives, whether it's She Trades, whether it's the Youth Empowerment Project, whether it's others, we are very happy to look at these solutions, partner with the business community, and come up with solutions, of course, in partnership with our partners, implementing partners, but of course also the ministries, and come up with new and better solutions. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and again, thank you everybody for the wonderful contributions, and the motivation and the aspiration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fatou, do we have time for a couple of questions or comments?
I'm not sure we have time.
Yeah, just a minute.
Okay. Comments, we'll take 2. Yes.
Just 2. Let me say also the speakers will be here for lunch, so you would also have the opportunity to ask questions and interact with them as well. So we'll have 2 questions and then we bring this to a close.
Thank you very much again, presenters. I'm so happy to when I was sitting on the table with Elsie, and I'm so proud of you, Elsie. I've never met you, but I've known you well before because as a board member of my foundation, we helped you during COVID with seeds and so many other things that you needed for your farm. And when you spoke about export, I was just messaging Fatmata. I think the founder of my foundation, she's just arriving, and now we go. So I'm just messaging her, telling her that I think we discussed about your issue at our recent board meeting about the possibility of export. And I think we were looking at other cotton farmers to see how you people can come together. And I was very happy when you spoke about coming together, which is very important. I think that's the only way that's the only way forward, just as Nafi said. We have to. Some women are in business. They have the financial muscle. They have the financial strength. They can invest in some of these businesses. You know, I think it's time that that's the reality. That's the only way we can go forward in terms of export. Because somebody like me have lived in Senegal, and that's exactly what they are doing. You know, you can see you heard about some big businesswomen. They know nothing about farming, but they are into farming 100%. They've invested millions in farming, but they have never been to any of the farms. So that's the way they can empower their fellow women. I also wanted to, I will not do myself justice if I don't speak about she trades. Just like everybody said, I'm a beneficiary of she trades training. I've been trained, my shop assistants have been trained. I've recently been benefited from their NACO grant, which I have, through that grant, I've innovated. I've grown and changed the whole structure of my workshop. And it's definitely, I'm grateful to She Trades, and I think they are doing great in this country. And I think everybody should apply on the next, I'm not sure when is the next cohort, but they should apply. Also, I tell people, the other women about She Trades. I tell them about She Trades. The people, the entrepreneurs should apply whenever they hear about their cohort, so that they can benefit. That's the only way out. Thank you very much.
Okay. That's fine. All right.
Yeah. Great.
Can I use that?
Sure.
Sorry, I will not be asking the panelists to give their final words because we're really out of time. And as I said, they'll be here for lunch, so you can interact with them. But we bring this session to a close. I think it has been great. It has provided a lot of insights, not only in terms of what She Trades has been doing, but what has come from the partnerships that we have been able to get with the government, but also in terms of the private sector as well. And to also hear particularly from the young women who were on the panel today. Let me also recognize the presence of Fatoumata Dukure, who is the interim chairperson of the Women in Business I also want to take the opportunity to also recognize and say that really the work that She Trades has been able to achieve in the Gambia has been possible because of the partnerships and the collaboration we have had with the ministries, with the chambers of commerce as well. I would say the media as well as the civil society organizations. So really is to thank you, and we look forward to continuing the collaboration and the partnership. And then I also want to say that
For the Women Business Advocacy Group, the secretariat is hosted by the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and in the same group we also have the Gambia Women Chamber of Commerce. We have GAIPA, the Ministry of Gender as well, and of course the Ministry of Trade, with She Trades, and ITC and the UNDP. So, of course, we are there as institutions to provide technical support and whatever resources we are able to do, but there is a group of women leaders, women in business, who are in that group that is really we are supporting in terms of amplifying the message and seeing what we are able to do to support women when it comes to their economic and I would say social empowerment. I will not do justice. This is not the end of the program, but really to call to the project manager for She Trades in the Gambia. That's Elena. She's in Geneva. Elena, I'm sure you're watching together with Maria and Jonah as well for all the great work that you have been able to do since the launch of She Trades in the Gambia. So thank you from the ITC team in Gambia, but also I'm sure from all the women and the organizations that you have been working with. Thank you, and Fatou, over to you. Let me thank, of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't thank my great panel of women and he for she here for really being here with us today. We look forward to continuing the partnership to support the women of the Gambia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And another round of applause, please, for Auntie Fatou and her panelists. Well, it has gone beyond almost 2 hours, yeah, but it was very interesting, and I can see it was indeed engaging, and people wanted to keep the conversation going. But this is the essence, right, so that everybody can be a part of the conversation. So thank you so much for that wonderful moderation, Auntie Fatou, and for the exceptional statements that the panelists delivered there. But at this point, we're going to move on to the last panel now. You may take your seats now as we move on to the last panel. Thank you so much. This one is to last for 30 minutes. I hope we can stick to that, please. We've gone 2 hours beyond time. And this particular panel is going to be on COVID impact and digitalization, unveiling of ITC's new project, COVID-19 recovery through digitalization and market access for women horticulture producers, right? And we're going to have the moderator. The moderator of this session is Anna Wada, Director, Ministry of Trade. Oh, who? Okay, Abdullah Jame will come instead. I beg your pardon. So we have this next session to be moderated by Abdullah Jame. There you go, from the Ministry of Trade. And if you're still listening, this session is going to be COVID impact and digitalization, unveiling of ITC's new project, COVID-19 recovery through digitalization and market access for women horticulture producers. And Mr. Jame, the floor is yours. You can introduce your panelists. 30 minutes, yeah. Thank you.
So thank you, MC. Good afternoon, everybody. We are aware of the fact that we are behind time, so we will try as much as possible to ensure that we are brief in the interventions, particularly the information we want to share with you. Now, first, we want to also introduce a new initiative that is being developed by RTC with collaboration with the Ministry of Trade. It is a new project that we want to introduce, and it is a COVID-19 recovery through digitalization and also market access for women horticultural producers. As you've already heard from the earlier sessions, the negative impact that COVID-19 has on not only businesses, but also to our farmers in the rural areas. The measures taken by the restrictive measures taken has affected many businesses as well as farmers in the marketing of their produce. So as part of the support in terms of ensuring, supporting the recovery, not only of businesses, but also our farmers who are producing, the ITC in collaboration with the ministry is coming up with this initiative to support the market linkages. Now, the second segment of this session, we also want to hear, we designed it for us to hear from our panelists, some of the, how their companies and also their institutions, how they have been working with the various farmers in terms of supporting them during this COVID period. So let me say that before I introduce the panel, the Sea Trade project, as you have already heard, we have two approaches. We are working closely with the women-owned businesses, that is the women entrepreneurs, both in the fashion and horticultural sector. These are entrepreneurs. The project is also working closely with farmers, particularly the community women vegetable gardens in the country. So here what we are trying to do is to support them to enable them market their produce. That's the essence. We know that the Ministry of Agriculture is working very well in terms of helping our communities to improve the infrastructure of their gardens, but the marketing has been a big challenge. So Sea Trade is stepping in that to help support these communities to be able to market their produce. So we'll have an opportunity to be able to hear how companies and some of our stakeholders are working to support that process. So in this panel, we have the first aspect of the project is going to be introduced by one of my colleagues, Ms. Anna Wada. Anna is going to introduce the panel. Anna, please. Anna is currently the acting director of regional integration, and she is also one of our team members in the Sea Trade project. Then the second panelist is Mr. Sehu Kazama. Mr. Kazama is one of the founders of the Green Enterprise, which is also one of our Sea Trade value chain enablers. The Kazama Green Enterprise, their line of business is mainly transportation. So they are involved in the transportation of agricultural produce, both fresh, and their operations extends beyond. They operate both in the domestic market as well as in the outside the Gambia. Now, this particular company is also one of the companies we have had in the earlier sessions, how ITC in collaboration with IMPF and the Ministry of Trade and the Ministry of Gender has collaborated to support the liftings of onions from the regions during the COVID period last year. So Kazama Green Enterprise is one of the companies that operated in Niamey. We would have the opportunity to hear from Mr. Kazama how they were able to do that. So Kazama, you are welcome, please. Then we also have Mrs. Awa Saladem. Mrs. Awa Saladem is the founder of Jamweli Foods. This is also a sea trade company which is involved in agro-processing and marketing of agricultural produce, and it focuses on the processing and preservation of local foods. Now, the company, as we said earlier, you can always see their products in many of our mini markets, our supermarkets. The mini markets, particularly those that are at the petrol stations, particularly Gulf. Now, this particular company, Mrs. Sala, is also not only the founder of Jamweli Foods, but she is also the president of Ndongoroba Women Association. And the role of the association is very important in the engagement that the project Sea Trade had with the people of Ndongoroba we have observed that the association works closely with the community in terms of helping them. While the community produces the good, the association is able to buy this produce from their community, either process and sell them. So we would have the opportunity to hear from Mrs. Sala how they are able to collaborate with the community during COVID period. Mrs. Sala, Madam Sala, you are welcome. Then finally, I have Mr. Buran Danjo. Buran Danjo is the national coordinator of West Africa Rural Foundation in the Gambia. It is an NGO established to serve rural and agricultural development in Western and Central Africa. Currently C-Trade is working with WLF, and they are providing technical support to strengthen C-Trade horticultural women gardens in the rural area and in horticultural value chains. So we have been working with WLF since last year, around August up to now. And the idea is how do we support our C-Trade gardens with provide them with technical guidance to ensure that their produce is of quality, so that in the marketing of those agricultural produce, it becomes much easier. So we are working closely with WLF, and their national rep in the Gambia here is Mr. Danju. Mr. Danju, you are welcome. So thank you very much. So before we move to the way we are going to present this session, first of all, I will allow Anna Wada to introduce the new initiative that ITC is developing in collaboration with the Ministry of Trade, so that we have an idea of what this initiative is, and then perhaps the objectives and some of the stakeholders we will be working with. So, Ms. Anna, you have the floor, please.
Yes. Whoever is handling the projector, can you please project my presentation? Yeah. I gave it to Fatou.
No, it's all right. I need to know where you're connected. You are not connected?
No, I already gave it to her.
Just switch over.
Okay, you are using it.
Yeah.
I thought you were using it. Okay.
So then I'll tell you when to change. You see?
Oh, are they he for she? They're he for she, that's okay. Not.
Okay. Thank you very much, Abdullah. Good afternoon, everyone. I would make my presentation very brief. It is, just like Abdullah said, a new project that the Ministry of Trade and the ITC would implement together with the support of the EIF to sort of support horticultural producers with a platform. No, not yet. Okay, but that's fine, that's fine. With a platform to boost market linkages. All right. So, as you're already aware, like most developing countries, the COVID-19 pandemic impacted the Gambian economy severely. the Ministry of Finance has highlighted that economic growth decelerated to an estimated negative 1.9% in 2020 from 6.2% in 2019, with smallholder farmers and producers facing the brunt of this, and then with unprecedented challenges. So also the declaration of a state of public emergency and the accompanying regulations resulted to a number of market restrictions and suspensions of loomers around the country. And as a result, a great number of women farmers who were mainly daily earners had no outlet to sell their produce. So these disruptions are particularly devastating in the horticultural sector, where the post-harvest losses spiked because of the perishable nature of the produce and the lack of adequate storage that, like a good number of the panelists mentioned, and transport infrastructure. So now, as we are now in 2021 and approaching the first anniversary of the beginning of the global COVID-19 pandemic, it is an important moment to take stock of the impact of the pandemic, to reflect on what we have learned and then what we can do better going forward. Overall, we have learned that it is crucial to diversify our economy and strengthen the few strategic sectors, the manufacturing, tourism, and agriculture. The pandemic has highlighted the importance of the food and health sectors. And the country is uniquely positioned to leverage our agricultural resources by improving our basic infrastructure and efficiency, as well as our agro-processing capacity. So for this reason, the Ministry of Trade and then the ITC, with the support of the AIF, is developing a project to establish a digital platform and improve the coordination and market linkages in the horticultural value chain, thereby increasing the income of women horticultural producers in vulnerable farming communities. The project is expected to be launched as soon as possible for a period of 2 years, with the goal to empower women farmers to contribute to their economic and social recovery from the pandemic. Next slide, please. So one important lesson we have learned from the pandemic is that we must embrace digitization. We have seen that the sectors with high level of digitization seem to weather the storm better. And through the project, we will work with local IT companies to create a value chain platform to address the issues of data scarcity and value chain fragmentation. I work for the Ministry of Trade, and every week we prepare a stock level report, but the data is skewed sometimes and sometimes unreliable. So the data is mainly on imported commodities and rarely includes domestic production levels. So through this digital platform, we would be able to assess the trends and overall production capacity and stock level in the country at any given time to help us make well-informed policy decisions. So farmers also would be able to alert buyers of available produce, quantities and prices, thereby addressing information asymmetries and improving market access beyond the local markets. We have heard stories from neighboring countries of rural communities adapting and coping even in the most challenging circumstances. And it's as a result of using simple digital tools that have been made available to poor farmers for them to access information essential for securing their livelihoods. So these farmers are usually in very remote areas and are now using phones to access customized agricultural information in real time. they're able to make informed decisions on what to produce, when and where to sell their output, etc. So our challenge through this project now is to ensure that the technology is available and developed and scaled up rapidly to ensure that the poorest in the rural area is not left behind. Now, in addition to the platform, we want to set up or strengthen a network of intermediaries comprising of women farmers, aggregators, transport providers, as well as representatives of cooperatives and farmer associations. So the this intermediary will facilitate linkages between buyers such as exporters, hotels, schools, and other institutional buyers and farmers. This would allow those farmers who currently have least or no access to promising markets, such as the illiterate women farmers, with the equal access to these opportunities. And then buyers as well will be able to monitor availability of produce across the country through the system, make orders, and then provide feedback through these intermediaries and the digital tools, such as using digital tools such as voice messages and the like, back to the farmers for continuous improvement. Next slide, please. The project will also work with different actors along the value chain to improve coordination and then increase efficiency in production, storage, and distribution, and thereby maximize the gains that can be reaped through the platform. The project aims to leverage existing initiatives in the sector, focusing on improving production and competitiveness. And this will help producers connect to the platform while addressing the critical needs. Next slide, please. Now, with the arrival of the COVID-19 vaccines, there is renewed hope that an end to the pandemic is now in sight. However, now is not the time to be complacent. And it is clear that COVID-19 will continue to disrupt the livelihoods of smallholder farmers for much of 2021 and beyond. So what is important is that we continue to work together to support small farmers to overcome the continued constraints and challenges of a global pandemic. So this should include scaling up our technological interventions, investments, and innovations that will remain that will be relevant and powerful tools for farmers long after the end of the pandemic. So we would like to thank the EIF for their continuous support, and to all our partners for the collaboration in empowering our women. Thank you very much.
So Anna, thank you very much, Anna, for introducing the new project for COVID-19 recovery through digitalization. I think it's a very important, it's going to be a very important platform in terms of getting access to information, particularly what is available, and also the prices of these commodities. Not only that, within the platform, buyers would be able to know who is selling what, and then we would be able to contact each other. So we want to thank ITC for the support and also the sponsors of the program, the Enhanced Integrated Framework. Now, going forward, as we said, our work with the women gardens is in twofold. Now, the project has identified a number of gardens. We call them seed trade gardens, 12 gardens at the moment in West Coast region, that we are supporting them technically in terms of providing technical guidance, and also to ensure that the produce that are the products from those gardens, we would be able to support those gardens to market their goods. In that, we are working closely with WLF so that they provide the needed technical assistance for those projects. So at this point, I will call on Mr. Brandanjo, perhaps to share with us how WLF, that's the West African Rural Foundation, how is it working? First, how is your institution working with C-Trade, particularly the areas of intervention? And then the second element, we would also want you to showcase how you are supporting the C-Trade gardens, particularly this difficult period in terms of enhancing the quality of their products, and also how they are marketing, support the marketing of their produce. Mr. Daniel, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ablai. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Burandanjo. I work for West Africa Rural Foundation, headquarters in Dakar. Now have an office in the Gambia here. Our partnership with C-Trade started mid-2020. We, as an organization, have some special techniques that we offer to women farmers in particular, especially those involved in the agricultural industry sector. We call it agricultural value chain interaction platforms. And here what we do is we bring all actors together to engage, discuss, and look at possible ways to solve their problem, because they share common things, that is commodity. So we signed an MOU with C-Trade to support 12 gardens in West Coast region. And in supporting these 12 gardens, we have a way of providing technical assistance. We don't provide extension workers. We call them business development service facilitators. Because we feel in this era, there is no room for extension work, but there is room for business service extension. So all extension service deliveries should be business oriented. If not, there will be a gap. So that's what we do. We have business service facilitators posted to support these groups. And what we do is first, they engage with the group and try to see how best their production can be market oriented. So we identified some buyers, and then took those buyers to these groups, discuss with them, engage them, and until they come to terms as for what commodities they want the groups to grow, and possible price of those commodities. So that's what that was the starting point. And then other than that, we also took these groups to their nearest markets, because the buyer may only buy one commodity or two, but the groups may grow 5 or 6 commodities. But we feel that whatever they grow should be market-led and market-oriented. So we take them to their nearest market to do market study themselves. And when they come, they analyze the market information, and we help them to develop what we call production plan in line with the market. Because we feel that horticultural production now in this country should not be produced and take to the market, but should be produced based on market demand. So this is the strategy we adopt with C-Trade. And then these groups were supported to develop the production plan. From there, all the techniques and technologies that need to be required adopted in production, they were trained on them. Bear in mind that the buyers that were identified who had engaged with these groups and signed contracts are in the picture at all times. But what key thing that we are doing based on agreement with C-Trade is to ensure that if the producers are producing for a company like Tropingo, their production should be in a way that Tropingo specifies. If they are producing for Brikama market, then their production should be based on what Brikama market demands are. So we oriented them to understand this as a key factor in production. Don't produce off head, produce based on market demand. And that's what they are doing. And in order to do that, we also supported them to identify what we call lead farmers. And those lead farmers are trained by our BDS alongside so that in the absence of the BDS, they support their fellow peers to grow in the best way possible. So this is the strategy we are doing, and then we are ensuring that everything in the garden is documented. And I'm happy the first speaker talked about this digitization, because that's going to be something, the next thing I'm going to say as a challenge. To enhance market-led production in this country, we, through seed trade, we have a task force, and that task force worked very hard with all stakeholders, and I'm happy to inform here that as of today, we have a donor by the name of Annabelle, who is supporting to establish a vegetable center in this country. I think it's going to be the biggest ever in this country, because already they have scored up to more than $250 million for that center alone. And then, in fact, currently, as of 2 weeks ago, we are discussing as a task force to change the center from vegetable center to agricultural hub, so that other commodities can also be accommodated. Meaning that if that center is established, what we anticipate to see happening is the center is going to be linked to all producers across the country. So market is going to be the takeoff point for all the markets. If exporters want to export any vegetable, they'll come to the center. The center will link to the growers across the country and make sure that that amount and quality and quantity is produced for export. Likewise, domestic market. Likewise, for processing. So we want to see this happening in this country so that it will completely change horticultural production in this country. That is already in first year. And then one thing that will help that center to work well is digitization. One thing we need, and that should happen as quickly as possible, is we need to have reliable information on production of vegetables in this country year around. By that I mean is that we need to have, buyers need to know quarterly how many onion tons are available in which region so that they can go and buy it. How many tomatoes, direct tomatoes, okra are available quarterly in each region so that they can go and buy it. That information still is lacking in our agricultural system. Unless we address that, buyers, their planning cycle becomes a problem for them. And producers will complain we don't have buyers. But there's a need for buyers and producers to have adequate and accurate information about each order at all times, so that that can help us move forward. I'm sorry we have a little bit of time, only a few minutes, so I'm sorry I won't go along all aspects. But to help you understand that now with seed trade and partners, we are in very high stage of turning horticultural production in this country from growing to take it to the market to grow based on market demand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boran. Thank you very much for your intervention. Let me say that C-Trade, I think that's where we also have competence in terms of bringing stakeholders together to work together so that we achieve results. So this partnership that we are doing is not only limited to some of these partners. We have extended to colleague ministries that we are working with. We have also extended this collaboration as a project to some of the associations in the region so that together we work to address the challenges that our farmers are facing. And this brings us to the next one. We have said last year how through this collaboration from partners, from the government, and also service providers, we are able to support our women onion producers to be able to sell. Those are very good learning points for us as a government, and also as a project in terms of seeing how do we sustain that. And as part of those lessons, we are working closely with the Ministry of Gender, as well as the Ministry of Agriculture, to see how do we sustain that. We have learned from a problem. And that the solution we have provided would help us solve the marketing problem that our women have. So going forward, the projects have worked with the Ministry of Agriculture through their regional directorate to see how they continue to support all the gardens in the region to produce quality onions this year. So we've also agreed to look at the products. We cannot do all the products, but we have selected few products to start with onions. And then we have also engaged our importers. Now, during the onion seasons, we produce a lot of onions. How can we help market? So we have an agreement with the importers that during this session, the importers are going to buy all the onions that are produced in the country. So we have discussed that also with the farmer representative. Let me say here that the farming community are getting very organized this time, because they have regional federations throughout the countries. So in all these regional federations, they have come together to form an umbrella body that also engage in discussions on how to support their women. So the projects have been working closely with the regional bodies, and the farming communities are aware that this year the government has rolled out the procurement of onions throughout the country. So what we have done is we are working with partners to see how this is supported. And here we want to thank ITC and also IMDF to once again come in to support this initiative, because this is the piloting phase, is the take-off stage. We still need support, and we want to thank ITC for always coming to our side to support these processes, not only through C-Trade, but also as an international agency putting their support and technical support to ensure that this happens. So this year we are working closely with the Ministry of Gender to have that happen. Now that's what brings me to the next speaker. Through ITC, if we are to succeed in this, our women farmers is supported to ensure that we've talking about the quality of the onion, but apart from that, the onions have to be sorted, the onion have to be packaged, and perhaps they have to be supported to transport all these onions to where the buyers are. So this is where logistics service providers are important, and through C-Trade we have identified a number of value chain enablers. Value chain enablers, some of them are logistics service providers. So Gazama Green Enterprise is one of the value chain enablers. Let me say that it's a street trade farm. So we have Mr. Kazama, a male, but he's representing a woman business, because 70% of the owner of that business is a woman. And then the woman, she is the owner of the business and also responsible for the management of the business. So operations handled by Mr. Kazama. So Mr. Kazama, we want to welcome you. We want you to share how your company is working with C-Trade, and also how you were able, your experience in terms of working with women in providing logistic services to them. How was it beneficiary to them? Thank you.
Good afternoon to all. First and foremost, I wish to extend my profound gratitude to IMVF and ITC for their diligence in entrusting us with the contract. And equally, extending my profound gratitude to the C-Trade National Coordinator, Gambia Project, Mr. Jame and team, and the Ministry, and the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Gender, and all stakeholders that we worked with the whole of last year. And I can't miss out Mr. Toure and Mr. Sanyang, the Regional Directorate at Kerr Agriculture Regional Director at Kerr. They've been very supportive, and they were the ones who collected the data too, that we were able to step in and work out. And furthermore, Mr. Jame, I would say thank you. I know it has been a very tedious time, and sometimes I had to call him at a real odd hour, but notwithstanding, he did never complain, but he's always been there for us. So thank you very much, Mr. Jame. Under this contract, that this is somewhere June, July last year, we are contracted to lift 160 tons of onion. Unfortunately, not all the tonnage we were able to make it on onion, but at least we were able to make a large quantity on it. And from the gardens, we are sorting, weighing, bagging, and finally transporting it to the importers in the greater Banjul area. It has been a big challenge, but as we say, women empowerment, it worth it. With all the troubles that we've encountered, but we want to ensure that it is a success story, and alhamdulillah, it was indeed a success story. And the number of women that benefited from this is over 300 women across the gardens, from Nyumi up to Badibu, where you have, within all the districts, the whole of North Bank region, I would say, that includes Nyumi and the Badibus, up to Sanjal, Sabah Sanjal. And this year, I believe, as the team of Line Ministry of Trade had been to the gardens, could attest to that. The level of preparedness and the amount of onions that have been grown this year is far above that of last year, simply because there was a method that was used, and that is trying to move these women gardeners from the old traditional way of selling their produce to the new method, which is of course more beneficial to them. Because the old traditional way is they would fill their onions bagfuls, sometimes not even knowing exactly what is the weight of the onions in terms of kilograms. So when we step in, what we first did is we put them to a sort of an experiment, that is giving them the bags, first weighing the old, as they use the old method, weighing, knowing the exact amount of onions that is there, and surprisingly, some bag of onions would be up to 45 kilos, or a little above that. And 45, when we weigh 18 kilos, so for some, would see to it that with one bag of onion, which they were supposed to sell for $800, they were now getting 18 by 2, that's 36, with a remainder. So automatically, in terms of cash, it has been adjusted. From, instead of $800, now you're getting $1,080 plus your remaining balance of onion. So I believe this has motivated most of the women in the gardens. So as we speak, if you go to all the regions right now, you would see today that there is more in terms of production, because the benefits that they experienced from last year. And interestingly enough, it doesn't take them much a time before they have access to their phones. So I guess this was also a very good step in the right direction. And as a result of that, we were in, but notwithstanding, we have encountered a lot of challenges too. And like I just said earlier on, despite the challenges, as hard as it may be, but we still determined to move things forward, because these are our mothers, these are our sisters. So as to help them avoid post-harvest losses. And in helping them to avoid post-harvest losses, it means we have to do all what it takes to ensure that their produce are being sorted out, weighed, bagged, and transported to the importers on time, as stipulated on the contract. So basically, that is what we did last year, and we still continue saying thank you so much to IFGF and ITC for their continued support and the lively institutions of partners.
Thank you, Mr. Kazama. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. Let me say that we look forward to working closely with all logistics service providers this year, and then in terms of supporting our women producers to be able to easily market their produce. Now, let me take the last speaker, Madam Awasala. As I said earlier, Madam Sala is the founder of Jamwali company, one of our significant companies that is into processing. But she also doubles as the president of their community women association, that is Ndongoroba Women Association. And perhaps we would want you to share with us how your company and also your role as a president, your association have been working closely with the people, the women producers of Ndongoroba. How were you working with them in terms of supporting them? Madam, you have to.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. First of all, I'll say thank you very much, Abdullah, for having me. As you said, my name is Awasala Deb, the founder and CEO of Jamwali Foods. Jamwali Foods is a food processing company established in 2019. Despite the tender age, Jamwali is now well known within our domestic market. We sell locally, we sell in local supermarkets, mini markets like the Dajo stores, and then we are a proud member of Sea Trades de Gambia. Sea Trades, through Sea Trades, Jamwali has gone this far. Because when we started, it was really challenging. As you know, food processing is not an easy thing. It needs standard, it needs quality, because it's for consumption, and the safety of the consumers should always be outlined. So through Sea Trades, we were able to have a number of trainings that I think time will not allow me to elaborate on those. But just to mention few, we had trainings on packaging, we have trainings on bookkeeping, that's recording. We do have B2B meetings with how to call it, distributions agent people. So with that, we were able to move our businesses forward. Not only the efficiency of Jamwali Foods, but also the effectiveness of our daily production. So through Sea Trades, the trainings we have with them during the COVID-19, we were able to go on with our normal businesses. Because without Sea Trades, I think it would have been a very big challenge. But then, what Sea Trade did was to continue these trainings they were giving us on digitalization. The trainings never stop. We continue these trainings, online trainings. which maybe me personally would not be able to attend both if it was not digitalized. Because there was a time last year around March, April, I traveled and we had this photography training. If it was not this, because of digitalization, I would not have been able to attend. But fortunately, I was able to. And as an SME, this has helped me a lot. My network is improved because now we are online. We do our marketing online. People get to know about us, our products online. And because of that, people are making orders. We are still selling. We are still in the market. So I have no any word to say but to say thank you very much, C-Trades. The second thing is I am also a beneficiary of the C-Trade mini grant, which also has helped me a lot. Because when I started with no processing machine, no packaging materials. I just started like that with the little I have. But fortunately with this mini grant, now I have milling machines for my cereals and vegetable production. Thank you very much, C-Trades. And the other thing is that, as Ablai mentioned, I am the president of Dongoroba Women Development Association. As a child, I grew up in the village of Dongoroba, where most of the inhabitants depend on farming. Women particularly. They do cereal farming, vegetable gardening, and so many things when it comes to farming. But what I realized during those days is that after all the hard work they went through, at the end, there was no market for them to market this produce. So later, when I grew up and came into the combos, in 2019, we decided to form an association to at least contribute to the development of the lives and livelihoods of the members, of the women of Dongoroba in particular, and women of the entire Gambia. So we get to Dongoro, we discussed with them, and we said, now what we want to do is that you are growers, we know that you are growing, but at the end of the day, it is always a challenge for you to sell these products. The only market they have is these locally lumos, what they call lumos, that is the weekly markets. There is a weekly market in Bure, which is called Welingara on Wednesdays. So it's only on Wednesdays that they get access to sell their produce. And from when your produce is ripe, we all know that if you have only one day throughout the week to sell your produce, before the next week, most of your produce will get rotten. So we said now what we are going to do is, after when you produce, our association will come over and buy this produce from you people, transport it back to combos and process it. Process and create market for the products. With this, we will be able to sustain the availability of the products yearly round. The food security will be available, and at the same time, they will also get gains that they will be able to use for their children, for their household events, and anything they would like to do. So this is what we are doing, and during the COVID also we continue doing it, and inshallah we hope to continue doing it.
So thank you, Awa, and thank you very much for your sharing your experience as an entrepreneur and also as a member of the association, working closely with your community. Now, unfortunately, we will not be able to take questions because we are far behind time, and we also have your lunch waiting for you. On behalf of C-Trade, I want to thank our speakers, all of them, for coming and sharing their experiences with us. We also want to thank all of you for coming and in showing interest, participating effectively, giving us your ideas, giving us motivations. We look forward to close collaboration with all of you, working closely with all of you to achieve the objectives of the project, which is empowering women economically. On this note, I hand over the session back to the MC so that he can close the... Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jame, for sticking to my time. A round of applause to him once again. And his panelists, I believe, so even though we did not have enough time to dive in on the issues, but the core of the message has been delivered, and that's the most important thing. So thank you so much. We've come finally to the end of this very important occasion. I believe we've been sitting for over 5 hours now, and I'm pretty sure that most of us are tired already and would like to go out for lunch. But I just want to use this opportunity to thank all of you once again. I would like to also thank especially the partners, the International Trade Center through the She Trades, but also thanking the Ministry of Trade and Regional Integration for their foresight and just being a part of everything that has been done in this area. And I'd just like to tell you that as part of the She Trades program, they host a weekly show on Taxi FM. This was the former Unique FM 100.7 and 101.7 in Basse. You can tune into that every week and you will hear the beautiful voice of Aissatou Diallo that once had over this program, over the radio, and it was very informative, quite exceptional, and it's called Dole Muso. It airs from 5 to 6 p.m. on Taxi FM, of course, part of the She Trades initiative in partnership with More Time, the ministry. Thank you so much, and we hope that you will come again next year for another important... Oh, wow, this picture is very beautiful. You know, I wasn't expecting that, but I see very strong women I look up to in here. They are my aunties, some of them are my sisters as well, and I'm pretty sure that there's more to this conversation, and there's more we look forward to. I read something around last week, an article, and it did say that, you know, it is time for women leaders to be unapologetically themselves, embrace boldness, integrity, self-confidence, compassion, intuition, and creativity. And remember, these traits are, of course, available in both men and women. And sometimes what it takes is just a little push to explore these potentials. So let us not limit our opportunities. They are there, there are a lot of them, and I'm sure that the likes of ICT are here to just give us sometimes that little push to explore the vast opportunities we have. And this is just the beginning. Thank you so much, and I invite you down to the hall now. Yes, I did mention that. You were not listening. I'll invite you now to the hall so that you can get your lunch. Thank you so much once again.